Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Movies Worth Seeing. I'm your host, Michael Piscineri, joined by Martin Jung and Matt Vella, our guest filmmaker for today's episode.
G'day. Thanks for having me.
Well, he's released a short film comedy. It's on YouTube right now. It's called She's Not Your Type, and Matt is going to be talking to us all about the life of an aspiring filmmaker. So, what?
I killed him. Guys, the movie is that good.
That's how funny the movie is.
Oh.
What the fuck?
We're actually we're gonna be reviewing Dayshift later, but I must say, Matt, like your short film did a better job of making me laugh than this $100 million fucking Netflix movie with Jamie Foxx.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Jamie Foxx. I'm sorry, Dave Franco. I'm a big fan, but
I gotta ask, like, what inspired you to make this short film?
the one I did before that was an action film, and I wanted to do something completely different. I just had this idea for a comedy one day. Hadn't really done comedy properly before, but I'm just gonna write it. I'm gonna go for it. Turns out the idea is pretty good because a lot of people are really enjoying it. I've always been a fan of scumbag characters, and I was just like, what would it be like if you were to date that scumbag, you know?
Yeah.
Usually those roles are played like dudes, and I thought, if that was like my girlfriend, I'd be f***ing shitting myself, right?
That's something you can relate to, is like we've all dated that person that we're like, God damn, I really wish I didn't date that person. Like, what was I thinking? What drugs was I on? Have you got any advice, like doing these short films, any advice for aspiring filmmakers?
I hate to say it because I feel like it's such generic advice.
No. I know what you're
but
gonna
it's
say.
like, just do what you want to do. Just pick up a phone. You can film
do it.
Yeah, everybody says that, but like, what I've learned is like, one, if you try and do something you don't fully believe in, it often ends up being not your best work. And two, it's like sometimes you just wait around for so long to do something, and then you just don't end up doing anything. Like this film I made at the end of 2018, and I'm only releasing it now. A lot of filmmakers I meet get so paranoid of like, oh, what will people think of this? Because it's not my best work. Well, actually, it probably is your best work because it's the most recent thing you've done.
Yeah.
And if you don't put it out, people will not realize you're a filmmaker.
Your short film escalates very quickly. I've put together some quotes that I'm going to say out of context. These are quotes from Matt's short film, Vella Matt Films, on his YouTube channel. So,
Here we go.
it's like the Empire State Building had a ball sack. Menopause before men and balls.
I got to get that on a t-shirt.
Tell me I'm a man or I'm going to shit on this pizza.
We did that.
Have fun figuring out how all these jigsaw pieces fit together.
It's the wildest experience seeing someone else quote your movie to you. Even if it's the most crazy bullshit words that you've ever heard come out of someone's mouth.
Now we're going to start our review of Dayshift. Man, this film does feel like a straight to Netflix movie. Dayshift reminds me of like the B-grade horror films of like the 90s. Like it's got a simplistic plot and some cheesy dialogue and a generic villain to match. What did you guys think going into this?
Expectations, how do you go lower than like minus infinite?
Damn, that's fucking... Jeez, I thought I was
Very
harsh
cynical.
about movies. Man, get a load of this guy.
Damn, dude.
For a pool cleaner, there's so many wasted like comedic opportunities where he uses pool cleaning instruments to like dispatch vampires and whatever.
That's a good point.
It's a 30-second scene.
Squirt
You're right.
chlorine into their eyes to temporarily blind them, and then use the fishing net to do this and that. And
If that's your
wasted
biggest problem with
opportunity.
this film,
That's not.
I was going to say,
But it does bring up a good point, though. It would have been nice to see, like, just the monotony of, like, the pool cleaning to kind of set up this dude's life, that it's how dull it is and how the vampire killing is almost like an escape for this guy.
Yeah.
What the fuck was his name, by the way? Bud.
Bud.
I'm calling him
Bud.
Jamie Foxx for the whole
Yeah.
review.
he had a crazy last name, Jablonski.
Jablonski.
And straight away I was like, he doesn't look like a Jablonski.
No.
Yeah, it just makes me think Jamie Foxx wasn't their first choice. It's one of those examples of like, you can only work with what you've got.
Yeah.
I think this film is a great example of what I assume is just way too many cooks in the kitchen. Because this film is stretched in multiple directions and it doesn't really know what it's trying to be. Because when I look at this film, I assume it was originally intended to be a buddy cop comedy. So now you've got like this buddy cop thing, but it's only really buddy cop in like the second act. And then the whole first act, or at least the first 20 minutes, is just this really serious horror action sort of thing going on, where Jamie Foxx plays this like almost no nonsense straight man character. If it wasn't for like the opening like Dr. Dre song, you'd probably assume it wasn't a comedy. On top of all that, you got this director who's this directorial debut. His background is in action. And I gotta say, I think the action scenes are really well directed.
Fight choreography is f***ing amazing in this.
Totally, especially the
Let's
final
start with the
action
positives.
scene.
I love the fight choreography, but then it starts going into Cirque du Soleil.
All the
Cirque du
weird
Soleil.
vampire.
Cirque du Soleil.
Contortionist thing, which
and
that was good.
That first fight scene is fucking amazing. I love that. And there's some imaginative moments where they're showing the vampire with the reflection.
Yeah.
But then they keep doing the same shit over and over, the same flips, the same movements, the acrobatics coming out of nowhere. Even Snoop Dogg ends up doing all these stunts where it's super obvious there's a stunt double.
I call this John Wick syndrome. First time we see it, incredible, amazing, one of the best action movies ever, right? Then you watch, like, say, John Wick 3, where he's just constantly doing these same, like, got your gun, flipped you over, jiu-jitsu move, and it's like, we've seen this 40 times in the same movie. Maybe mix it up a little bit. I'm not saying it's
Lost its
bad,
appeal.
but it's like, it's only magic the first time, you know?
Yeah. This movie has its moments where it wants to be like a low-budget, B-grade kind of horror comedy, but then other moments where it goes into full like Michael Bay car chase with drone shots, and it feels really out of place tonally. The film just doesn't have this coherent kind of look or theme.
I will say, like, there are little moments where it's like they try and go deeper into the lore. Like, they're like, oh, there's Uber vampires and all these other different spider vampires, and they start talking about all this like actual detail of this world that you don't normally see done in vampire movies. I'm like, okay, you're trying to be interesting. That's great. More of that, please. No, move on. And it's like, that's like one of the things you had going for you, man. Like, I would have loved to see, give us the vampire world and the politics of why are there different types of vampires. Just feels like there was one producer who goes, I want to make an action movie. But then you've got someone else who's like, it's got to be a comedy. And then you've got someone else says, well, it's a horror as well. And a horror comedy is already like a pretty niche mashup of genre as it is. Yeah. And then someone's trying to put in all this extra lore, and then you've clearly got someone who's a giant Snoop Dogg fan, because Snoop Dogg, as always, is playing the unique character of Snoop Dogg.
This movie was sucking Snoop Dogg's dick.
It was straight up. That end where he's like, West Side for life. It's like a real director told him to do that.
I mean, he can't act for but he's all over this movie.
Like, that trope and like the clumsy book smart guy is like listing off all these like pertinent information that's crucial to like the final confrontation, and the tough guy, Jamie Foxx, starts to appreciate the book smart guy more, and then he starts to utilize the knowledge that he's learned, like that he's gleaned from the smart guy, and vice versa. It's like they don't do anything with that tough guy, smart guy dynamic where they have to learn to like complement each other.
This movie reminds me of John Carpenter's Vampires, which is a much better vampire movie. So the vampire hunter is kind of paired up with this priest who works with the church. And the priest is the book smart guy who reads all the books about vampires, does all the research. And there's a scene when they're in a truck together, and the vampire hunter is pretty much saying to him, forget all the shit you've read about, all the movies.
All right? Forget whatever you've seen in the movies. They don't turn into bats. Crosses don't work.
You want to kill a vampire, you drive a stake through its heart. Garlic doesn't work, crosses don't work. He's talking to the priest as if the priest is the audience. So we get a vibe, we get a sense of what the rules are in this world for dealing with these vampires. And it's also establishing that this priest hasn't been in the field, doesn't know the real world of vampires. He's just read about them from behind the scenes, from a desk. That movie does the exact same thing that this movie does, but so much more clearer, because the priest has to kind of learn to be in the field and learn to be strong and actually take on the vampires.
I'll tell you the biggest missed opportunity of this film, though. What's the name of the film?
Dayshift.
Dayshift.
When does the fact that it's a day shift come into play?
I was gonna bring that up. There's not even like a montage compilation of, you know, like Jamie Foxx and Dave Franco going around like doing a day shift. We see maybe just the first instance when they go to the bowling alley, but then they supposedly go on to more shifts afterwards, leading up to Monday. But there's not like a compilation that shows them slowly getting more friendly with each other. You know, sort of like when they first, you know, give each other the cold shoulder. Like none of that. It's like there's no. It doesn't do the title any justice. And the main action at the very end happens at night.
Yeah, it's like, it sounds like when they were pitching this film, it must have sounded great. Because, like, what do vampires hunters do during the day? How do you hunt vampires during the day? I don't know. That sounds really interesting. Wouldn't it be such a better movie if the plot was vampires have brought out a brand new type of sunscreen. So now vampires can walk around in the day?
That'd be more interesting.
It would relate to the title. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Such
better.
a massive opportunity.
Yeah,
as well,
and it'd be more original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they were subverting expectations. Yeah, we usually see vampires as, you know, as dangerous in the nighttime, but now they're coming to the daytime. It's like, whoa, now it's like a whole new layer of threat. But with the new sunscreen thing as a subplot got sidelined and only mentioned twice, just such a huge missed opportunity. So many missed opportunities.
Jamie Foxx, if you're listening, there's your sequel idea. That's what your movie should have been, but there's your sequel idea.
What if the sequel's called Night Shift and they're just like, oh.
Then they
But it happens. But it happens in the day.
Yeah, like this movie, every time okay, first of all, I want to say, just because we've been trashing this movie, the action scenes are really good.
Yes.
I think they are really well directed and well shot. So you can tell it's done really well, but they all happen either in dark rooms or it's at night, which kind of kills the point of it being a movie called The Day Shift to me.
For all the trash talk we have on this, so there are some good things, like you said. Like, I think we only had one chase scene, right? I think there was just the one long one. And yeah, the chase scene was good, but please can we for modern action not have used those like FPV drone things? You know those ones that like flies really fast, and you can when you watch that you can just tell that they had they had a drone
DJI,
operator, DJI thing. Then when they turn around a tight bend, it like does the Dutch angle. It's
You just
like,
described 70% of Michael Bay's ambulance movie.
oh,
It's
yeah,
nothing but that shots every 10 seconds. It's another drone. It's another drone.
I lose the immersion. Like,
Yeah, I do too. I feel like you're about to see a fucking shot on DJI, like little in the top bottom left corner of the shot.
Let me ask you
drastically.
this, right? Do you think this criticism, do you think the average audience member, would this break the immersion for them? Do you think?
I honestly think so, yeah, because drones and GoPros are popularized now. It's the normal average like consumers like use them. Even the non-video centric people, they know the term GoPro, so, and they can just instinctively tell now that it's a GoPro.
Even to like a general audience, you can tell something's changed in the look of the film. And most of the time when they did those fancy kind of drone shots, it wasn't really adding to the story anyway.
I think, in my opinion, the reason that's a thing is it's modern directors trying to be modern to relate to modern audiences. So they're used to seeing GoPros, they're used to seeing drones, and that's what they associate with like action photography. I don't mean to be so defensive of it, because obviously I don't give it. I've never done like a chase scene like that. If I had to, I would be thinking like, okay, people associate this stuff with high impact intensity stuff, so I can understand why they would choose that. But when I see a drone shot, it sticks out like dog's balls to me. So I'm totally with you as well.
I gotta be honest, I am really shocked neither of yous have brought up how shit the villain of this movie is.
90% of her scenes is someone picking someone up by the throat, holding up in the air, and making threats. And it's like, wow, this is the most generic bad guy thing I've ever seen.
As soon as she talks, her voice is so monotone and so boring.
I don't know if it's just phoning it in. I think she's just miscast. It's not even a gender thing. That's not the type of character you get to play the big bad.
The Lex Luthor figure.
You need someone that's physically intimidating. And if you're not getting someone physically intimidating, they have to try and play the opposite. So if she was acting super bubbly and cutesy and feminine and then just out of nowhere just cut someone's throat, that would be intimidating because you wouldn't expect the juxtaposition of portrayals. I don't know. She just looks like a mum the whole time.
You don't believe it, you know. You
Yeah,
don't
it's
believe
not
it.
I don't
believable.
believe
It's not like Vincent D'Onofrio as the Kingpin. You really do believe that he is this overarching, like he's the main honcho who's got, the lieutenants under her or him. And it's like, you don't believe it.
And if he was there against like some like little kid, you'd be like, oh, that kid's But when she's there up against Jamie Foxx, it's like Jamie Foxx would whoop her ass.
They also establish her like power that makes her different to all the other vampires is that she's meant to be super fast. But what's the point of a villain that's super fast if they barely ever use this power? She's super fast to like do the usual bullshit. Oh, I'm gonna be flashy and kick him across the room. If a villain is super fast, they will kill the hero. They won't dick around. They won't monologue. They will just kill them. I hate villains that constantly tell you what their plan is.
The James Bond effect.
I'm going to bite your daughter and turn her into a vampire, and then she's gonna
drink you. She said drink you like 3 times. It's cringy.
That's very true. It's like there's none of the whole like, oh, now you understand how I felt when you killed my daughter.
Yeah.
That old grandma was her daughter?
I think that's meant to be a joke, but it's not funny. Again, probably too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yes.
Some comedic screenwriter probably wrote it. Some dramatic screenwriter came in who then didn't realize that was a joke and then just made it boring. And then I think that happened 100 times in this film, probably. I think it's part of a larger problem. I think every female character in this film is severely underwritten. I don't think there's a single female character in this film with a defining personality trait who does anything other than to deliver like what feels like placeholder dialogue. To be fair, there's very little effort put into most characters in this film. I think Jamie Foxx and Dave Franco.
Yeah, I was going to say
have the only
regardless
effort.
of gender.
Yeah.
You made me think that immediately the exact character that fits that description is that neighbor from Unit 19. We see her maybe like just on 2 occasions before the big final showdown. And then like they said that, oh, she made like Audrey made me do it because she wanted me to get close to you or whatever as your neighbor. But it made me think that either they had some deleted scenes where they shared screen time more together where they get along, got, neighborly and all that, or they just failed to write any scenes leading up to really... That line made no sense. We saw nothing of that.
Yeah.
You
She
know?
was very shoehorned in. The sad thing is she's the most interesting female character in the film.
Another part of this like whole equation is the existence of the Union. You know, when they're ratting off all those different codes and rules and stipulations and all these like 20 years of red tapes at each other and stuff. It's supposed to be shown that Dave Franco's character has toughened up and stuff, but it's like, how does the Union get anything done with like all these different rules of engagement? If the vampire bats one eyelid, no, that's a no-go. You cannot open fire. And like, how is it that they let, people like Jamie Foxx go freelancing on the black market? You'd think they'd, clamp down on like illicit sort of operations, because then we don't want our identity revealed to the public. We cannot let the public know of our existence like Men in Black and stuff. So it's just like...
That's what this movie should have been. Men in Black. They should have Men in Black this
like
film.
a secret society of vampire hunters, and it's like another secretive, group of vampires that exist like with us in society. Not saying that's like Oscar-worthy sort of thing, but it's
you're right though. The blueprint existed, and they ignored the blueprint.
Movies that I'd recommend you to watch instead of Dayshift are Blade 1 and 2. Skip Trinity at all costs. John Carpenter's Vampires, great film. The original Fright Night, and even What We Do in the Shadows is a pretty good vampire movie. Even though it's a mockumentary, it nails the comedy. It's definitely a better vampire movie than Dayshift.
Still, it's not the worst vampire movie we had this year.
Oh yeah, but
I'd say Morbius is still worse.
how glad must they be that this came out the same year as Morbius?
Yeah.
People must have been like, I'll just take anything that's better than that. So Dayshift, I think it's not worth seeing because it's quite generic, quite forgettable, and as I mentioned, there's way more better vampire movies. Having said that, it's definitely better than Morbius. I'm giving 2.5 out of 5 for me.
Dayshift is a movie that mostly has the most bombastic stuff happen at night. It is a movie that is worth putting on the telly if it's on mute and you just leave it running in the background. I'm giving this movie maybe a 2 out of 5, but that's being generous because it does have some redeeming qualities. It has, quick-ass actions, and Jamie Foxx is charismatic as ever, and, good car chase. But then everything else is just abandoned subplots and just like doesn't commit to its own laws and its own rules. And it's just tropes, and tropes.
This movie's got a bit of an identity crisis. But, you know, the action scenes are worth looking up on YouTube. Just unfortunately, it's a comedy movie that's not trying to be a comedy movie at times. Also, it's just not offensively bad. I've seen a lot of movies that are pretty bad this year. If I was watching in theater, I wouldn't walk out. I know that's a very low bar, but
to not have your audience walk out in the first place.
yeah, the reason we're able to shit on this film so much is because of the genre. Like the genre open yourself in world building stuff that opens you up to being able to nitpick and pull apart. If this is just a straight up comedy, we'd just call it shit and see you later. I've seen worse comedy. It's not Holmes and Watson. There are worse comedies out there. There are worse action movies out there. I'm a little bit nicer. I might go 3.
3 out of 5.
Yeah, 3 out of 5. You know, swing and a miss, but maybe next time, guys. I am going to keep my eye out for this director because I think if he took on a proper action film, he could be doing the next, Atomic Blonde or Nobody or, one of these other John Wick inspired films. Just this one wasn't it for me.
Just don't cast Snoop Dogg in it next time for your next directorial,
Oh yeah, from now on, I'm so over seeing Snoop Dogg.
Get Cardi B instead.
Just have a twerk on camera like endlessly.
All right, guys. Well, that's me. I'm Michael Piscineri. This has been Martin Jung and Matt Vella. Just a reminder, guys, you can check out Matt's short film, She's Not Your Type, at Velamat Films. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yes, on YouTube.
Which would you recommend?
Which
Would you recommend people watch? Dayshift or She's Not Your Type?
Well, I'm very biased. And I do feel bad trashing a film with much bigger budget and talent attached than mine. But if you want to support an indie film out there, check out She's Not Your Type. Subscribe to Velamat Films. And hopefully the next Jamie Foxx film is a banger.
Yeah, hopefully you can get Jamie Foxx on She's Not Your Type too.
If it happens, I'll let you know. You'll be the first I call.
Good.
Like, dude, you won't believe what just happened.
Jamie Foxx saw me on his movie and he wants me to direct his next film.
Dayshift is a cautionary tale. Don't sell your movies to Netflix, otherwise all these corporate executives will just have too much.
I want that Netflix money, man. Don't ruin this for me. I need that Netflix money.
All right, guys.
All right, catch ya.
Laters.